What is going on, everyone's? We are here. We're back with another episode of
Is My Point Valid?
Yes, indeed. I am your host, co-host, all that, Brandon D.
And I am Camille A. Stocker.
Yes, and we are Stocker Family Values as a collective. You already know what time it is. So, to get this episode on to rolling, chugging along like we say, we're going to start it out with What You Know Good.
Oh, man, I forgot to bring the book that I was reading.
Oh, man.
How y'all doing today? Like I'm on stage or something.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Huh.
So what do I know good this week? I know that I've been reading a book called Lies My Teacher Told Me, and guess what?
What?
These people been lying to us.
All our lives.
But it is by James W. Lowen. It's pretty good. Now I'm just on chapter 2 because I had to get everything in that was happening on chapter 1. And now he's talking about Christopher Columbus and how really this man ain't really do anything. He didn't discover anything.
Nothing.
And so on last Monday, which was the 11th, October 11th, it was Columbus Day. But we don't celebrate that. So we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, right? And so I'm kind of glad that this second chapter that I'm reading is touching on that. So if you're interested in learning more history, despite what we learned in high school with these
real history,
yeah,
not the reconstruction of the history.
We should do research on our own. Also tell people what else we're learning about it. So if you're interested, it's called Lies My Teacher Told Me by James W. Lowen. Next week I'll bring it on and show you what it looked like. So my next What You Know Good is I watched a documentary. I had to watch this. If I wasn't assigned this, I would have never watched it. I would have just went on about my business. But it is called Before the Flood, and it's a documentary. And Leonardo DiCaprio has a lot to do with this. It's his production. And in this documentary, he is meeting with scientists and he is meeting with activists and world leaders, and he's discussing climate change. Because here's what I learned.
What did you learn? People
like Marco Rubio, Paul Ryan, what's his face, McCorrin, all those people, the Republicans who benefit from fossil fuel money, are saying that climate change is a myth.
That's
because they benefit from it. And so while the world is being destroyed,
yes, they're saying,
let's keep drilling, let's keep burning. Oh man, it's ridiculous. And it's like, y'all can like if the climate change, they could live. But think about the poor people. And then think about the people who live on islands. Shoot, think about the polar bears and the narwhals.
And I'm going to say this. Don't think it's a coincidence that all of these rich people are going to space.
Absolutely.
Put that on your mind.
And then what got me, I want y'all to, it's on Disney Plus, and then I do have the link, so we'll link it below on where you can watch this. But Leo goes on, I think it was like 2 years that he goes on this journey of finding and trying to figure out, what's destroying the world, and he's figuring out how to mend this. Now, what's ironic to me is the person who was like, I want to mend this is Elon Musk. But he's contributing to his footprint in the climate. So it's a Fanny Dooley, meaning it's ironic. So I will be looking more into that. But yeah, so my What You Know Good, Lies My Teacher Told Me. It's a book, James W. Lowen, and Before the Flood documentary. And it is on Disney Plus. So if you do have Disney Plus, it's on there. And I do also have another link where you can watch it. Very, very interesting.
Yes, indeed. And that's going to wrap up that part of the show.
And it kind of ties into our topic, I think, because it ties in. We'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the topic for this week and coming weeks.
We're going to be on it for a while.
Yes, it's going to be, is the system really broken?
Is it? Is it? Huh? Is it?
And the reason why we say there's going to be a series or there's going to be more episodes on this topic is because we're going to break this thing down into industries per se.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get into the schools.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get into the judicial system.
Okay.
We'll get into the jailing system because those are two different systems.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also get into just personal, just overall life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do you think we're gonna get into when it comes to is the system really broken?
I think you touched on schools,
jails,
government,
courtrooms,
government. I guess the government
will be separate.
Because the government plays so much into the topics that we want to.
Absolutely.
So I think that,
and you can even separate the IRS.
Well, that's the government.
They are a private corporation that is employed by the government.
But it's the government. I mean, I know what you're saying. But I'm saying ultimately, the government has a hand in majority of the things that are happening.
Absolutely.
And so they say, we are making a choice for these people to be in office, and we are choosing them because they're telling us all the things that we want to hear.
And they do none of the things that they say.
They don't do it. So our vote does count. I believe that ultimately to the end of time. If you think different, tell us why. But I believe our vote does count.
Numbers always count.
Numbers do matter. Why do you think that's what's happening right now with the voters' rights? Why are they making it so hard? So we can talk about that as well. Why are they making it so hard
voting system
for us to vote? Why do I need my ID? Why do I need this?
I'm here. I'm a citizen.
Hello. I was born here. Why are they making it so hard? Because the less of us that vote, the more of them that get to stay in office.
And they can control. It's all about control.
These older white people, like I was saying about in the What You Know Good, they are benefiting from fossil fuels. And you have to think of big companies like Exxon. You have to think of big companies
Halliburton.
Like Valero was one. Shell is a really big one. They are benefiting off of us. And you have to think, when I'm saying all of this intertwines together, climate change, prison system, all of it goes in hand.
It's all controlled by the same people.
And so it's like, when are we going to open our eyes? And then you can go back to when I was saying lies my teacher told me. When are we really going to go in and watch these documentaries, read these books, really research? I know sometimes we research and we go down this rabbit hole of, conspiracy theories and all this other stuff. But what is the logic? What has history shown us?
Mm-hmm.
And what has history shown us? And we keep making the same mistakes as a people. I know we've talked about that a lot. Mistakes. Because of what people are saying, what politicians and are saying, and what sounds good. And then the media will divide us and say, well, this is happening over here, but something's really happening. So we have to, it's a game. It's a big game being played.
They wave their fingers over here so they can pop you over here.
Yeah, it's a big game being played. So, our series, we just want to talk about it.
Speaking on games,
I
had a conversation with a youngster. He probably 20-something-ish. And I was explaining to him how life was a game.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't agree.
So what is it? It's fun?
I have no idea what he thinks or thought it is, but he's going to soon find out soon as he get from up under his parents. He'll find out what's going on in this real world, because it ain't nothing but a game. You got to make plays. You got to know how to maneuver.
You have to know how to maneuver. You have to know the people who will benefit from you.
And you got to have a team. I mean, team, game, moves. Hey, if you don't think it's a game, you keep doing whatever you're doing. And, hey, that's just what it is.
It just has to be eye openers, and we have to stop believing what everybody is saying. Because I think I understand why the young man might feel the way he feels, because as I grew up, I didn't see, what you might have saw.
Environment does play a role.
See?
Yes.
So I probably still look at things a little bit naively, but I research because I feel like I need to understand, because and I feel like God has placed me in your family.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? For a specific reason. I think things have happened in my family for me to understand, oh no, girl, you are not the exception, right? Like, it can happen to no matter how good of your childhood was, how you grew up, things happen. And you look and you see a lot of people say, well, it won't happen to me. Well,
live a little bit longer.
Or be careful what comes out of your mouth about what won't happen to you, or what won't happen in your family, or what you won't be faced with, right? Because of course we looking like, oh, everything is so well, and now we fighting for something because we seeing the wrong in everything that's done. Our eyes have been opened, and it's like, okay, do I sit and not do anything, or do I fight, right? And so you look at the past of like Martin Luther King Jr. You look at Malcolm X. You look at people, even like Helen Keller. Y'all see her as just the deaf woman who the water, and she learned she was more than, right? She was an activist for women, for black folks. She was
a lot of the times the stories that they're putting out are just the surface.
Right.
It's a lot more to these people than what they put off.
Yeah.
Especially in like even Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they have a lot more depth to them than history is showing.
Yes.
So, and I mean, that's just history. It's been known in history that we have been the ones on the forefronts.
Absolutely.
But we've been pushed to the back in the reconstruction of our history.
Yeah, it's black people, Hispanic people, Latino people.
Yeah. Asian
folks, and they will not admit it because of where they have overcome. But I was teaching the girls when we were there's a book called Separate is Never Equal by Don Tonatua, and it's a children's book.
Tonatua.
But it was a perspective of, hey, Asians helped build the railroad, but they didn't become they couldn't become citizens.
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of thing. And you looking at things like, so no, it's not no one side of I'm black and no. Here's the thing. If I fight for me, ultimately you gonna win and you gonna win. I'm not leaving anybody behind. And I think that's where that divide comes in as well with the news.
Yeah.
Like, well, this black person over here, he had the police put his hand all around his, but do y'all know what's happening to Hispanic people, Latino community?
And not to mention our Haitian brothers and sisters.
Man, like it's happening.
Speaking of the Haitian situation, my big misunderstanding with that is Haiti is an American country, right?
They're not really. America plays a part in it somehow. I'm not really sure how.
We're going to have to get into that because I thought that Haiti was an American country.
It's not. I had Googled it. It's not, but it's a French.
All right. So I'm going to leave that alone until we do some research on that.
It's a Caribbean. Of course, it's a Caribbean. No, it's not.
It's not a part of the United States?
I'm pretty sure it is not. But the United States does have.
They got a lot of stuff going on over there.
They've always had a lot of things.
That's what I'm saying. So it's beneficial when it's beneficial for them.
Absolutely.
But when their people need help from us, it's like
absolutely not. But you have to think, not to get too deep into it, because like you said, the series is going to go on. You have to look at Puerto Rico. right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at Puerto Rico. You look at the Virgin Islands, and you have
all American countries.
But look at these places, and here's another thing. We're talking about systems broken, and this is why I'm real funny about traveling. Here's why. Because people go to Puerto Rico, but y'all, we see the best part of Puerto Rico. But do y'all see the bad part of Puerto Rico, right? You see the best part of Jamaica.
Y'all at the beach.
Jamaica isn't a part of the United States, but you see the best part of Jamaica. But there's a bunch of poverty, right? Even if people come to the United States, you'll see the best of what was been portrayed on TV.
Yeah.
But when immigrants who come here to live, they living in the worst part of the United States.
The parts that they didn't even know existed.
I did not know this was in
America.
I
thought when I went to the LA, I was going to be in Hollywood, but I'm on Crenshaw Boulevard.
So it's and so that's why I'm kind of iffy about traveling to these places, because it's like I'm going to have a good time.
Indulge in history.
Right. Well, no. I think a lot of people go, I'm gonna go on the beach of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm all living my best life.
But what is the history? What is happening? How are those people living? And they are part of the United States of America. So that's a part of the broken system.
If you're going to these places and you're not tapping in on the history, the culture of these places, then you're probably doing yourself a disservice by even going to any of these places, because there's a lot of history on the other side of the beach.
Absolutely. There's there's some controversy going on in Hawaii, and you got people just traveling to Hawaii to have a good time, but y'all, they taking these folks' land. Like, the system is broken, because if you think about Hawaiians, they are indigenous. I believe they're indigenous people as well. Like in Alaska, they're indigenous people. So we are, like Brandon was saying, we're in the back. Although they fought and said we can sit in the front of the bus, we're still in the back of the bus. They're still like, you can't sit here. Get up and hold on. It's not. We're not winning in the sense of getting in. And just because you have a little bit of color sprinkled into the government does not necessarily mean you are winning as a people, because they're not working for us.
And I'm going to tell you, the system
in my
is a whole lot stronger than that individual who thinks they're going to go inside of the system and change something.
Absolutely.
And 10 times out of 10, that person that's going into this system trying to change something ends up being changed.
Yeah.
And that's just another person that we lose on our fight, on our side of the fight.
They went in trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But then you have
to see. But you're overpowered by the system.
You have to see, if you are doing the right thing, then you're always on the outside. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're different. Like, right now, there's a lot of things going on, and you was like, I'm on the outside. I'm not in the inside of anything. I'm on the outskirts because of what I believe. But I don't want to be in here because of what what your belief is. And it's crazy because we talk about slavery, right? We always talk about slavery, and we talk about the police brutality right now. And I just lost my train of thought. We talk about those things, but it's not changing. And then you always have that question of, how do I change it? How am I going to fix this? Am I a part of the problem? We probably all are a part of the problem as well, because we've fallen into what I always say, what society says, but we've fallen into what the government has said. We fall into, Brandon started off with we're going to talk about the school system. What are our children learning? I'm looking at what my children have learned in that short period of time that they were in school, and me trying to change the thing of, this isn't what you learned. That's not correct.
Not at all.
Some of it is, but let me change it. But then it's like, okay, if I really tell them the truth, they'll be on the outskirts. And it's like, is that good?
Hey,
You get what I'm saying?
I just feel like you just need to be real with your children so
Yeah.
they understand the whole picture. Because if you give them one side of things, they're gonna go out here. They're gonna be lost.
Yeah.
They're gonna be in last place.
Yeah.
So you need to give them that full understanding, so they know how to navigate in this world. Because if you're all right, so say you have a mixed child.
Yeah.
If you are not,
they need to know both sides, is what you're saying.
If you ain't stressing the black side of them,
both sides, because
both, yeah,
you need to
because they're gonna be getting flack from both sides.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They need to know the blackness. They need to know if why
how you're gonna be perceived.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Even if you are more on your white side of the family, you still have that color in your skin, and they're gonna look at you like one of us.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's important that full understanding, and our school system is not going to give that to your children in no aspects. They're not going to give you the totality of slavery, the Holocaust, of none of these things.
And what I learned, because I'm reading some more, is that it's a book by Sonia Nieto and Patty Bode, I believe, and it's called Affirming Diversity in the classroom. And in a lot of the classrooms, teachers are uncomfortable, even black teachers are uncomfortable with the conversation of race. And they see it as, I love all my children equally. But here's the part. Every child is not equal. Every person is not equal. And I'm not talking about equal because of skin color. I'm talking about, I am not the same as Brandon, so you cannot treat us the same. I am not the same as my daughter, so you cannot treat us the same. You can fuss at me, but you can't fuss at, there's different things that everybody needs, and that doesn't just go to a child. And so then you have in the school system, everybody's learning the same thing the same way. Everybody's not the same. So, it's all interesting, and you have to look at things. Like I said, you can look at everything that we're saying and be like, well, that's a lot to take in. It is a lot to take in. Right. But these are questions that we have. I know I have a lot of these questions a lot of times, and as I'm reading, like, whoa, I didn't know that, or I was taught this, and or this and that, and then you have the cover up of how slavery was, and you read back. I'm looking at homeschool curriculums, and I'm looking at these companies who have created history and
recreated history.
That slavery was
it was all hunky-dory. We were happy in our positions.
And I was so confused, and I was like, is this real life? And of course I would not call those companies' names out. They need to be called out, right? But I'm not going to do it today. But it was just like, really? You really feel? But then you have to think of the majority of people who are homeschooling as well. So my point to that is, although you're homeschooling, are they really being taught the right thing?
Because if you're going off
a curriculum,
a public curriculum,
and it's a homeschool curriculum,
then you might as well put them in the school system. You're getting the same information. Yeah, because if you're not going off the rail, off the norm, then your child might as well be in the regular school system, because that is the information that they are receiving from you in that public curriculum.
So that was interesting, and it was like it just sugarcoated how slavery worked. But then you always see the slavery part about black people, but they don't show the whole. And I'm not taking away from our struggle or anything like that. But as I'm growing and as I'm learning, as I'm seeing that, in order for the world to work, everybody has to work together.
Yep.
Like, that is God's ultimate goal. It was not and I've been teaching that to the girls as well. You know, God is like, love your neighbor. Like, literally.
He don't say your white neighbor or your black neighbor.
Love your
or your
neighbor.
Asian neighbor.
Love your neighbor. He doesn't put any color on anything.
There's no emphasis on any demographic, anything.
So how in the world are these people going around, and I'm saying these people, and if you don't understand what I'm saying, how in the world have these people been going on and saying that and putting God's words and saying this is the right thing to do because God told me to do it? Excuse me, say what? God don't say nothing about that. Now, there was slavery happening in the Bible, but God, guess what? Moses was like, let my people go.
Let them go.
It was a fight. People were fighting to get out of those things. And so
we wasn't just singing, just walking around singing doggone hymns.
And so for people to justify that and say, well, God called me to do that. God called you to whip on people and hold people down. He called you to do that?
Maybe white Jesus.
And then another point that I would like to make is with the system being broken is, so people have all this money and these big ass houses and these big ass cars, expensive ass cars and stuff, right? But when God comes, you can't take it with you. When God comes, he's not going to look at everything that you got. He's going to look at your heart. And a lot of these people who we fool with ain't living righteously. They ain't walking in God. We living in this world, systems broken, people battling, people dying, people sitting in jails, shackled up and can't do anything.
Y'all taking folks' lives.
Taking folks.
It's not okay to make a mistake.
And
so take your life from
when
you.
God comes, because I believe he coming, I don't know when, but guess what? He gonna come. And like
and you know what they say about them idol gods and them false prophets, and they say all of them get the same treatment.
So we talk about this broken system, and this broken system has been created by man. It's been created by man. These things that are happening is man. It's man made. It was not God. God made us, you know, but when he come, people are in trouble. People are going to be in trouble. And I believe that with them, everything in me, people are in trouble. And I think we need to start treating people humanely, because people are being treated like animals. We've always been treated like animals, but it's this series is gonna be interesting.
To say at least.
It is. It's gonna be very, very interesting. Gonna have some good conversations. We're gonna go into some things. We're gonna also give facts, not just our opinions. We're going to research some things, I think. Are we? No? Okay. And you didn't seem sure. We're gonna research some things and make sure that what we're saying coincides with what history has presented. I will be coming up with more books that I have read, you know, some that might have lied, and I might call out some people. I don't know how I'm feeling, you know. But I do know that in order to fix it, I know I probably can't make a huge dent, but if I make a little dent, you know, and that little dent is allowing you to know that the system is broken, or is it broken? That's the big question. Is the system really broken, or is the system doing exactly what it needs to be done?
Is it working?
Is it working? Is it working? Are things changing the way they're supposed to be changing? Are names just being changed, and the things that were implemented just still staying the same? You know, because ain't nothing changed but the year. So yeah, we want to get into all of that. if you are interested or if you have something that you do want to have us touch on, let us know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Let
And
us know.
yeah, like we say, we're gonna be getting into this a little bit more in depth in the coming weeks. So y'all be sure to stay tuned for that. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be
Because this was
very
good.
interesting conversation. It's gonna be some points made. It's gonna be some stats stated.
Yeah.
And all of that.
Yeah. This is an important conversation for this time because election time is coming up. So we need to know who to vote for, who not to vote for. What is everybody standing for? We need to look into people's backgrounds, what they've done in the past, what are they trying to do for the future? Because just as Brandon said, we put people in the office and then they don't do anything. They are stagnant, or they have other missions that they want to accomplish.
Or they represent us to get in the position and then forget about us.
Yeah. So how are we going to rise up? And not rise up and take over. Ain't none of that crap. Because if we was gonna do it, we should have did it by now, But to rise up and really put a change in the effort. Because once we start changing our community, we can also help change other people's communities as well, and then have a big old community and of that. And I believe that with all of my heart that we just have to help each other.
Absolutely.
Listen to each other.
Yes, indeed. But like we said, y'all stay tuned for the coming weeks. We got some good stuff for y'all. But it's about that time. Y'all already know what time it is before we get up out of here. We got to smack them in the head one time with On This Day in Black History. So today is October the 18th. And on this day, in 1944, actor and civil rights activist Paul Robeson was awarded the NAACP Spingarn Medal for his achievements. Once again, brought to you by BET. Shout out to them. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. On October 18th, 1944, actor and civil rights activist Paul Robeson was awarded the Spingarn, we're going to get into that, Medal for the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP, for his achievements in arts. Robeson was born in Princeton, New Jersey on April 9th, 1898. He went on to become one of the most prominent performers during the Harlem Renaissance, appearing in many productions, including The Empire Jones and All God's Children Got Wings. The son of an escaped slave, Robeson actively spoke out against racism and became deeply involved in the civil rights movement. His refusal to publicly rebuke his beliefs led him to be blacklisted for his films in 1940 and 1950. On January 13, 1976, Robeson died at the age of 77 after suffering a stroke. So, big shouts out to Mr. Paul Robeson.
Yeah, he was out in them streets. If you look at
a
lot of documentaries and stuff, he was there. He was in them trenches. Fighting. Yeah, he was fighting.
Like my people say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is going to conclude on this day in Black History. So before we get out of here, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Continue to show us love, and we're going to show the love back. Catch us on all podcast streaming platforms. Patreon coming soon. So y'all watch out for that. It's coming real soon. We need the support, and we're going to be here for y'all, and y'all be here for us. That's how it's going to go. And y'all continue to stay blessed, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.